Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the TexAgs High School Football Show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy has all your high school football road trip needs this season. Get the right gear for the long season with free curbside pickup today at Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right, everybody, welcome back to the TexAgs High School Football Show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors, as we roll into the regional final week. Only a few more weeks of football left on the high school gridiron in the state of Texas. And we had talked going into last week, Jason, that round 3 was going to be craziness across the state when you looked at some of the matchups, a couple of top 5 matchups throughout the divisions across the state. But, I mean, we are setting up for some real there's some divisions where there are still some titans left in it, and we're going to end up having – best on best from Dallas and Houston matching up, but there's also still some Cinderella stories making some runs out there. So I'm looking forward to it when we get into the nitty gritty now throughout the state of Texas, and everybody now, all schools still playing football can taste the trip to AT&T Stadium. So let's start with what you did last week in Dallas. What'd you see and what'd you like? And then we'll get into everything else this weekend.
Well, I was in Athens, Texas to see Timpson and Honey Grove.
That's right, East Texas, yep.
I fully anticipated this one being a back and forth, playmakers on both sides, making plays and doing big things. And I was half right. Timpson came out and
it's a good bet anytime Timpson plays.
Timpson laid the wood in dramatic fashion, and Honey Grove took the ball to start things off, went 3 and out. Terry Bussey connects for the first score of the game, a touchdown pass. They take a 7-0 lead, and they didn't look back. Him and J.J. Garner, just phenomenal efforts, but they pull away for a 68-7 win. And that 7 didn't come until the final 10 seconds of the game. Just a completely dominating effort by Timpson. And I'll be honest, I don't know if they were really playing their best football, which is really scary considering Honey Grove was a very talented team. And a team that only had a couple losses on the season, had double-digit wins, and I think had allowed 73 points coming into the game all season. And Timpson could have they ended, I want to say it was 50 something to nothing at halftime. And it was just a completely dominating effort. But let me read the stat line, because this is Terry Bussey, 14 of 19 passing for 273 yards and 4 touchdowns, 8 carries for 66 yards. So he didn't quite get 10 yards a carry, but he had 2 touchdowns, 4 tackles on defense, and a pick 6. And then there's J.J. Garner. 6 carries, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions for 171 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then on defense, he just had 7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a couple fumble recoveries, including a scoop and score.
Send me that stat line, because he's going into Bronny's best this week.
He was just nuts. And let me tell you, he was just, you got to look at some of the highlights, because he is just running through and over and past people from Honey Grove. And just in the last minute, he scored 14 points. One on, I think one was a rushing touchdown, and the other was a scoop and score to close it. And it was nuts. Every time he touched the ball, something big was happening. And that's a second. I'm telling you, keep an eye on JJ freaking Gardner, because he is going to be one to watch in 2025. And then in Dallas, there were several scores. The most shocking, Lancaster over Longview. They were down Taylor Tatum. He'd been injured. I don't think he played at all, but even still, I had Longview coming away with that win. And a credit to Lancaster. They are making a a historic run through the playoffs.
And they barely got in. Yeah.
This is a team that finished 4th in district. It came down to their final game of the year against Lufkin, even see if they would get into the playoffs. And they've taken care of business. And yeah, credit to them. They're playing some ball. Coach Paul's got them running. And then you had DeSoto handling some business in Alamo Dome against Willis. That one really caught my eye. And North Crowley with a monster win over Prosper in dominating fashion there. That's a team that you're going to want to keep an eye on. They play a physical brand of ball. They got some really good prospects that are a bit under the radar still, and they're going to be a team to watch.
Sock was down at halftime. They rallied to win. Stephenville 7, Salina 3.
Oh,
that was what a knockdown drag out that must have been.
Heritage and Argyle 38-34.
Yep, Colleyville Heritage, a Cinderella story up there, kind of keeps moving on. So, man, there's so many intriguing storylines when you get to this late in these playoff runs. But for me, I had a 4-game weekend with 3 triple header at NRG on Friday, and I'll go through them very quick. Fort Bend Hightower beats C.E. King 31-28. I think C.E. King's field goal unit was on the field 4 times during the game, and they got 0 points out of those snaps with their field goal unit on the field. Killer in a 3-point game. Fort Bend Hightower, led by JoJo Stewart at quarterback, made some big throws. Jeremy Payne, their running back committed to TCU, was really good in the game. He was really good in the passing game, had 2 receiving touchdowns. And then, man, I've talked to you about this kid on the phone earlier today. I think Cade Phillips is an outstanding football player there for the Hurricanes in the secondary. So they move on where they'll play Summer Creek. And I saw Summer Creek on Saturday, so I might as well just talk about them really quick. They have been just rolling people. They absolutely blasted Stratford 52-15 in just a runaway victory. And that was one that you get on the sidelines before the game and you start looking around at some of the athletes that Summer Creek has. It goes, man, this will be really tough for Stratford to hang around in this game. But Summer Creek, led by their quarterback athlete Blake Thomas, who's had a sensational year. The running back Lloyd Avant might be the top back in Houston this year. I believe he's going to be a big vote getter for the Houston Touchdown Club Offensive Player of the Year. He's just been sensationally good. And then their defense, Xavier Atkins at linebacker, LSU commit, Chad Woodfork at defensive end. Pretty complete team, and they play a very physical brand of football. So it'll be Fort Bend Hightower against Summer Creek, and I believe I'm going to be at that one, not to give too much away, but Saturday for the 6A Division II Region 3 final. And then so the second game of the day was one that we were both looking forward to because Cy-Fair taking on North Shore, 2 big boys in Houston.
Yeah,
big questions surrounding the health of Caleb Bailey going into the game. We had heard conflicting reports on what he was dealing with after last week's playoff win, or the week before, excuse me. And he answered a bunch of questions. He was the best player on the field, and North Shore routs Cy-Fair 45-9. Man, that was, they've been kind of playing with their food for the first couple of rounds of the playoffs. They were tied at halftime, I believe, in their first 2-round games. So people were asking some questions, and then they were wondering, is this the same North Shore team? And that had to have been their most complete performance in a while. I mean, they were just dominant. And, a ton of really good players on both sides of the ball, as always, and it just seems like we're destined for North Shore Duncanville Part 4. Or Part 5. I can't even remember now at this point. Then the nightcap there was a really quality game. Kind of got away from Houston Lamar late, but Atascocita 34, Houston Lamar 14. Torrey Blaylock had a couple of big runs, highly touted 2025 running back. He didn't even hardly play early, and then they gave him the ball, start getting him going later in the game. He had a 52-yard touchdown run where he showed that elite breakaway speed. Their 2026 running back athlete, Carday Mack, really coming on as a player in Greater Houston, can play kind of out of the slot, can play quarterback, can play running back. Kind of a shorter kid, but great contact balance, good in tight spaces. A similar-ish skill set to Anaya Smith if you're looking for a comparison. But Atascocita moves on. Where they will face North Shore on Saturday down there in Pasadena. And so 4 games for me this past weekend, all Greater Houston area teams. Got a real good look at some of the top players in the city, and just I'm hoping that they can find a way NRG needs to utilize more locker rooms or whatever to get those type of days in Houston. I know Dallas does a great job with them. San Antonio does a great job of lining stuff up at the Alamo Dome. I'd like to see Houston find a way to start doing that, and I've been pretty adamant about it over the last couple of weeks. Anyway, all right, Jason. Anything else that we need to get to from last week before we start looking at this coming week?
Well, I think we do need to bring up that Pleasant Grove Carthage game. I mean,
and I got something I need to go ahead. You go there, and I'm going to.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, we knew it was going to be a big time matchup. This was one that, I mean, this is a state championship caliber game, Pleasant Grove and Carthage, and it's unfair that these two teams had to play, 3 rounds in, and my goodness, it was everything that you thought it was going to be, back and forth, and Carthage pulls out the win and is able to advance. But that was one I definitely wanted to hit on.
KJ Edwards looks like the real deal at running back,
no doubt. And I have to say, Byron Nelson and Southlake, I've
Capel,
counted
right. Byron Nelson, Capel.
Well, no, I'm saying those two teams,
okay.
Same district.
Yeah.
And I've counted that district out a little bit. That's the class of that district. And some of those Keller programs don't exactly give them the competition. But those two have, they've come through big. Southlake with the win over Highland Park and it just blew them out of the water. And Byron Nelson, absolutely doing the same in their matchup with, it's they're going to face off this week, and I've counted them out, man. They've done well. They beat teams that I predicted them to lose to. So my bad.
I've got three. I got 3 scores I want to talk about. First, P&G edges Montgomery Lake Creek 30-27.
There you
go.
I
mean, 3-point game. I thought it would be close the whole time. But Jeff Joseph, looking like his dad, can coach some football.
Imagine that.
Jasper, one of the Cinderella stories out of Southeast Texas. Jasper upsets Cuero 28-7, and just a sensational run for the Bulldogs there, Coach Crum, in his second season. And then they're going to be facing the third score I wanted to talk about. Belleville 61 or 61, Silsby 7. Have you looked at Belleville's scores this year?
Yeah, I was going to say, talk about sending a message. That was one I thought that was going to be just like the Carthage Pleasant Grove game.
Yeah,
man.
And Draylon Miller's banged up. He's essentially playing on one foot, but I don't know that even a healthy Draylon Miller makes that much of a difference whenever you get beat like that. Belleville is blasting people, and their defense is setting historic numbers. It is sensationally good defense. I think it's maybe they've given up 24 points in the last 8 games. It's just crazy numbers. And you got to go back and look at how many of those touchdowns that they have given up are when the game's non-competitive and out of hand. So Coach Grady Rowe and the Bramas there, the pasture of pain, they've got it rolling, and DJ Sanders continues to just be – I got a text from a coach that had watched that game on Friday night, and he said, "This kid at Belleville is a bad dude." I said, "Yeah, dude, I know. I've been telling y'all." So it'll be Belleville against Jasper on Friday night. So what does your schedule look like, Jason?
Well, I'm still putting it together a little bit, but I think I got a pretty good idea. We gotta talk about Smithson Valley College Station now.
Yeah, it kind of like a reverse of what happened last year, where College Station stopped Smithson Valley inside the 5-yard line with a chance to win the game. This year, I believe Smithson Valley gets an interception in the end zone with College Station threatening to take the lead late in that game. And so kind of an inverse of what happened. And, and they'll get a Cinderella story in A&M Consolidated, who just keeps rolling along, man. Coach Schmidt come down from Prosper. What did he do at Prosper when he was up there? His teams got to the playoffs, and they just made runs every year.
Ran deep.
So he's doing it here in College Station at A&M Consolidated. But yeah, I was super interesting game, and I'm thinking I might do that one on Friday
Yeah.
and then stay in the Hill Country and do a Saturday game, maybe a Duncanville against
Hmm.
Spring Westfield,
Yeah.
which is
You could
right
do.
there
Yeah.
in Round Rock. Um, Austin Westlake, Lake Travis is out there. But for me, I'm probably going to do Jasper Belleville Friday
Okay. Yeah.
and then do Summer Creek Fort Bend Hightower on Saturday.
All right. Well, I am. I'm looking forward to this. The Battle of Beltline. This rivalry has kind of been down a little bit with Cedar Hill, you
Mm-hmm.
know, taking a little back seat. Well, those horns are back, and they are making a big time run in the playoffs, and they're gonna meet up with the Soto at Kincaid 7 p.m. on Friday. I am looking to be in the house for that one, and then Saturday I'm looking at Choctaw. There in Arlington, where there's a little bit of a doubleheader. South Oak Cliff, Lovejoy at 3:30. And then you got South Lake Carroll and Byron Nelson in the
Can
nightcap.
you think can Lovejoy win that game?
Can they? Yes. Will I predict them to? No.
Well, they're playing, and I think Parker Livingstone. They get Parker Livingstone back if he's not back already. I think he went through warmups last week but didn't play, so he was getting close to coming back.
Yeah.
They're going to need all the firepower they can to get past SOC.
Yeah, and South Oak Cliff, let me tell you, I like the guts that they play with, man. They have that tough mentality, and they're not afraid to take chances. And when they get down, they don't panic. And I'll be honest, this is a matchup that just hasn't worked out well for Lovejoy in the past. And until I see them prove it otherwise, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going with SOC.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that 5A Division II bracket, P&G with a huge win last week against Lake Creek. If they think they're just going to scoot along to AT&T unchallenged now, they've got Huntsville this week, and you better watch out for Coach Southern's Hornets. They are playing. They've gotten hot at the right time. They're really big on both lines of scrimmage, and they're not allowing any. They held Richmond Randall to 13 points. That Richmond Randall offense with probably maybe the best freshman running back in the state of Texas, limited them to 13 points, and the Hornets are playing really good football. So if P&G gets in a letdown spot, it won't be good for them against Huntsville. And Huntsville is definitely that's one that I would put on upset alert just because of how last week ended. And nobody, I think Huntsville's one of those teams flying under the radar in 5A Division II. But there's so many storylines. There's great games across the state. This is my favorite time of year. I like the regular season. I love the playoffs as we close in on state championship weekend. But we're out on the road. We're trying to cover a coaching change here in College Station, but we still want to make sure that we're out on those high school football fields, bringing you guys as much coverage as we can. And Cade will also, our assistant, will be. I think he's going to be at Atascocita North Shore on Saturday. In Pasadena, and then I think he's going to Refugio. They play in Victoria on Thursday. I think he's going to go watch Ernest Campbell and the Refugio Bobcats. So, all right, for Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brauninger. That's the TexAgs High School Football Show.